toda esa relación que estamos teniendo pues va a tener mucho que ver con Israel, ya que tiene toda la nueva tecnología. Y es exactamente lo que estamos haciendo, viendo todo lo que hay en medicina, agua, cibernética, agricultura. Y nuestro invitado pues ya nos platicará sobre lo que viene en el futuro, ¿no? Y hacia dónde vamos, y eso nos dará una idea de cómo podemos apoyar a México e Israel. Y esa es nuestra tarea. Así que recibamos a nuestro excelentísimo embajador Jonathan Pérez.
Se dice que Israel ha sido bendecido por no tener recursos naturales, por la ausencia de recursos naturales, lo que nos obligó ya hace muchos años a desarrollar el único recurso que tenemos, que es el recurso humano. De hecho, nuestros antepasados lo reconocieron todavía antes del nacimiento o de la independencia del Estado de Israel. Si ustedes se fijan hoy en las instituciones más importantes académicas y científicas en Israel, todos fueron establecidos en los años 20 del siglo pasado, cuando Israel todavía era una visión, un sueño por realizar. Sin estos recursos naturales, desarrollando el recurso humano, hemos logrado realmente a construir hoy un ecosistema muy conocido en el mundo entero, y nos hemos convertido realmente en no solamente el Startup Nation, sino en uno de los lugares más avanzados tecnológicamente en el mundo. Y creo que hoy vamos a tener una oportunidad de escuchar al señor Shamir hablando justamente sobre esto, pero sí me gustaría dejarles nada más una última reflexión. Creo que Israel hoy es más presente en México que nunca antes. Presente no solamente en la parte política, sino en la parte económica y comercial. Israel brinda mucha tecnología, asistencia y cooperación en muchísimos campos en México, empezando por la agrotecnología, siguiendo por la salud, energía renovable, seguridad pública, por supuesto, farma, big data, en fin, realmente una gran presencia. Y lo que hemos siempre traído a la mesa es la tecnología israelí con el talento mexicano y con el poder manufacturero mexicano. Esta combinación ha sido hasta ahora muy exitoso y queremos seguir haciéndolo. Y ahora, en vísperas de una nueva administración, el 1 de diciembre, queremos estrechar nuestra mano de amistad y esperar que podamos seguir creciendo y desarrollando esta relación, esta cooperación entre México e Israel en todos aquellos campos estratégicos para México, como ya bien mencionó Meni, el desarrollo del campo, recursos hídricos, seguridad pública, en todas las áreas en las cuales Israel tiene una experiencia y quiere cooperar y brindar su asistencia.
I'm going to talk about the opportunities in Israel, and I will also analyze for you and give you some guidelines if some of you want to invest in Israel or want to cooperate with Israeli companies. I have I think some tips that might help you. And of course, if somebody later on or sometimes would like to contact me, he can do it via the Chamber of Commerce. And I'll do it, of course, not for my profit. God was very generous with me. I don't need any more. So since 2000, I'm investing half of my time for things that are unprofitable and for the benefit of the state of Israel and the Jewish people. That's my mission. So this 40% or 50% of my time I'm investing in helping new immigrants, mainly Jewish immigrants who want to come to Israel, especially academic ones. I'm helping them to find a job. We have a very good system that later on one title will represent to you. The second thing is I'm focusing on education. Major factor for Israeli being success story is education, accessibility to everyone. And since the beginning of the 90s, in Israel, higher education, meaning university, were 8 universities. That's it. Pressure from inside forced the government to fight against the monopoly of the universities. And I was part of this fight in money and time and persuasion. And since then we opened, I don't know, I think close to 200 colleges around the country. And everyone, every boy and girl who want to get higher education, and they must have it in order to climb on the status, economic status of his, he can get the right university for him, or not university, the college or university, depends. The difference between, in Israel, the difference between university and college is the research. University must have all the professors, all the staff to be involved in scientific research. In the college, it's mainly education. It's less research. Nonetheless, many of the professors in the colleges and in the universities are creating startups. That's why we have today 6,000 startups every year, 1,300 new startups coming in, about thousands. You forget it. I will. I'm sure that there's no need to repeat the glorious achievements of the state of Israel in the last 2 decades regarding the startup nation. But I want to focus on a few issues which are, I think, it's important that people will analyze it and understand it, especially if some of you wants to come to Israel to invest. You have to understand with whom you're talking and what is the environment and who is the government you will face. The first thing that I want to add for you, and maybe you are not familiar with that, there was some research lately dealing with the level of happiness of citizens in different countries. And it's mainly done by the OECD, by the UN and some, and there is also some American organizations, but it's international organizations. Israel, for the last more than decades, is in the 11th place out of 185 countries around the globe. Again, maybe 11th place is not impressive, but I will give you other data that you will analyze it. The US is 14, Germany 16, Britain 19, Israel is 11, Japan 51, Italy 48. And when you look from the outside, the state of Israel is quite a place. We call it a villa in the jungle. We're surrounded with the jungle, and still we think that we are happy. And when you analyze it, it's 2 very simple factors. One, the quality of life and the standard of life for all population is going up every year, or year over year. Maybe not a huge percentage, but slowly. That's one thing. The other thing is accessibility for education. Everyone can get high education. If he's more talent, he go to the universities. If he's less talent, he go to elsewhere. So as a result of that, if you look at the numbers of the adult education in Israel, is 50% today. Remind that we are a young country, so I think that something like 30% are not, they are less than 18 years old. So it's huge. So meaning if you go in the street, 1 of any 2 adults you see has an academic degree. this gives the hope that you can easily change your status in society. You easily can be wealthy if you are talented enough and if you have determination to do that. And this hope is the people you will meet when you come to invest in Israel. I'm focusing, since I left the Israeli Air Force, my last job in the Israeli Air Force, I was responsible for all the electronics in the Israeli Air Force, research, maintenance, whatever. I took positioning as CEO of the leading companies in those industries. So I'm presenting it in my stating 30 years, more than 30 years in the industry. As CEO, I have my own startup. I created it in '97. I sold it in 2007. I've been an angel that Ella, my boss and myself, we've done a lot of investments in startups and non-startups. Since '89, my first investment was in '89. And since 2000, I'm involved in bigger fund, and we are 3 partners doing many, many investments. So I'm familiar very much with the industry and with all the, I would say, the venture capital that dealing with this industry. I choose some data for you, which will enable you to think about when you go there. First of all, the population between the age of 20 to 65 in Israel today is 52%. Very young, relatively young if you compare us to other countries. The workforce out of the population, which is today 8.7 million, is 69%. And direct employment, the employees dealing with high-tech in Israel is about 10%. 10% of the 70%, meaning 7% of the whole population, but the direct, each employee in the high-tech, direct employee, at least carry around the support of between 5 to 8 additional. So this is the locomotive of the economy today in Israel. The GDP per capita is $36,000. It's not too impressive, because if you compare us to the OECD, it's 41,000, and to the US is 56,000. But the salary are lower, but the most important thing is that the debt of the government of Israel versus the GDP is going down every year. Today it's 61%, meaning the debt over GDP. In 2009 it was 75%. But if you compare it to the West economies, in the US today it's 105%, meaning that debt is bigger than the GDP. Question mark about the stability of the economy. And in 2009, if you compare Israel to the US, which is a good place to be in comparison, it was 82%, meaning the debt of their government is going up and up. And the same phenomena you see in the UK and in France and all the OECD countries. Israel is going down. What does it mean? Stable economy, stable government, and also the government allocated more and more resources for potential economical crisis, like it was in 2009 and so on. And now I want to talk about potential crisis that we are trying to address it in Israel. When I'm saying potential crisis, worldwide. Most of the new technologies today that everybody want to be part of those, they brought a lot of benefits to companies, to people, and so on. But they also bring with them a threat. Three days ago, Sears went out of business. Why? They couldn't compete against those conglomerates base their sales and commercial on technology. They cannot compete with the online, on the internet. They cannot compete with it. It happens, I can give the most famous example is Kodak. Kodak in 2000 used to have 170,000 employees worldwide, factories all over the globe. They control the market, the photographic market, 85% market share of the papers that you print on that. 2000, 2003, 2005, they shut up a lot of factories around the globe. They reduced the manpower in half. 3 to 5 years later, 2012, bankruptcy, Chapter 11. Why? Because in this room, I believe there are, 40 cameras, or maybe 60 cameras. Digital. No need of Kodak. Disruptive technology. And Israel today, what they are bringing to the market, unfortunately, or fortunately, they are bringing disruptive technology. There was a research that was, I think, published about 7 months ago in the US, that 50% of the professions existing today in America will disappear in the coming 10 to 20 years because of that technology. So, the talented guys in Israel, including some people in the government, trying to do this potential threat into opportunity. So the government is in the coming 2 months or 3 months will announce that artificial intelligence, which is robotics and all the rest, analyzing of big data and so on, will become I would say, a sector of actions that the government will subsidize and give. For instance, if a university will start additional courses regarding artificial intelligence, they will get support or grants from the government. New startups related to artificial intelligence will get grants from the government. So while we will be the process or part of developing of potential solution for industries and so on, parallel to this, we will start to create new professions. So those economies that will adopt our solution on one end, on the other end, the supporting humans, professionals, will ease to deal with the threat in the future. And the future could be very quick. It's not something that will go forever. So artificial intelligence is one of the things that we should, if somebody is interested in going into those investment in high-tech, I think this is one of the issues you should go. But don't be too quick for investment, because we have to see, it's very difficult to differentiate between the boys and the men, especially in Israel. Suddenly you have 2,000 startups dealing with artificial intelligence. Who is the boy? Who is the man? Who is the solution that will really will give some benefits in the future? So at least we have to be very cautious. But this is an arena we go for. About, I would say 8 years ago, the government had done the same thing regarding cybersecurity. Today there are in Israel something like 1,500 startups dealing only with cybersecurity, most of them getting subsidized or grants from the government. On top of that, huge amount of courses and in the universities, colleges, high schools teaching young people cybersecurity. Of course, only the defense side, not the offense side. So cybersecurity, for instance, I myself, I did invest in cybersecurities because I was not expert enough to identify between the man and the boy. I didn't. And you don't make an investment in something that you are not have some know-how to do that. And I promise many to deal with examples and really guidelines, not to tell stories and blah blah, palabra, whatever you call it. So I will try, first of all, to say why I think that Israel, I'm investing only in Israel. In the past, I used to invest also in the Silicon Valley and in China and elsewhere. I decided that, at least for me, it's a better place. I think it's also for foreign investment who are looking for investment beyond the territory that you know, the people and so on. Israel is a safer place. It's a safer place for several reasons. One, there is a very strong authority like the American SEC, the Security Exchange Commissioner. Israel is very strong on this. So they are cheating, they are corruption, I don't say no, I'm not naive enough, but they are not afraid, those guys are not afraid to take the tycoons and this and that. They are in jail. So if you go in the main avenue in investment in Israel, in high-tech, larger companies, be sure that you have a very big supportive of enforcement of the law. Second thing is, all the standards, financials and everything is the international standard. There is no Israeli standard or other bullshit. All the big four of the account firm, Ernst & Young, Deloitte, Pricewaterhouse, KPMG, they are the players. There are very few small players. Don't touch a company that those guys are not the auditors of it. All the high-tech, so most of the high-tech is by Ernst & Young and Deloitte. Some Pricewaterhouse, mid-range low-tech is KPMG and others, but also the law firms. Most of the law firms are composed with lawyers who came from the US, with NASDAQ experience and so on. So it's very professional, and you have to go to the big lawyer firm. Don't take a small lawyer firm. I can allow myself to take somebody that I know, but you guys, if you come from the outside world, take only the big guys. The law firm are professional, and relatively, from cost point of view, they are cheaper than the British law firm or the American and so on. Reasonable prices and negotiable. It's not something that you cannot negotiate about. As I said before, the economy is stable. The government, the Bank of Israel, and the resource that you see, and the fact that the debt is going down all the time versus the GDP, I think it's a good place to go. I will not recommend to somebody to go to invest in a country where the economy is so and so, or the government is shaky. And for the last, let's say, decade, the situation of the government is relatively, from economical point of view, is relatively steady. The whole economy of Israel is export dependent. The market in Israel is nothing. So everything that we develop, everything that it's more, meaning Mexico is also a tablet. So if you have a good understanding, and I believe that most of the people here have, about the Mexican market or the American market and so, it's easy to get a good startup or to invest or to make a commercial deal of distribution and so on with an Israeli company with the rights to distribute their product in those territories that you are good at. And the Israelis are looking for that. So this is a good combination. When I'm saying high-tech, it's composed, as it was mentioned before, electronic company, blah, blah, blah. But there are certain areas which are better than the others because they are much more futuristic. One of them is all the medical tech. It's medical device, but also drugs. And in the drugs, in Israel, I will invest only in those companies who developed an orphan disease. What is orphan disease? It's a disease that has no other solution. It's orphaned. And if you look at the researchers and the startups dealing with orphan disease, their probability to make it, meaning to get to the stage of phase 3 successfully with a drug in your hand, is more than 5 times higher than developing a regular drug, not orphan one, but from the point of cost to get to this point, it could be 1% or 2%. So the reward versus the risk is huge in orphan disease. And usually orphan disease dealing with children, but not only, so it's also humanitarian to invest there. And the Israeli one doesn't have, the Israeli companies or startup dealing with orphan disease, for instance, don't have the capital, even it's cheaper than the other one, don't have the capital to get the whole process up. So somewhere in phase 2, I don't know if you're familiar, phase 1 is usually toxicity, meaning if you give this drug to healthy men, you will not get some problems. Phase 2 is to see that it's efficiency, meaning it gets some results. No, it's not curing, and phase 3 is really to prove that this is a real product. So in phase 2, most of those companies in phase 2, some big guy, either the Swiss guys or the American guys, buy them. And you can make 20 times, 30 times all your money, if it's happened to you. Some of the companies are even selling earlier than that. And time-wise, it could be 5 years. Again, I'm talking average stuff. There's a lot of people who put their money, never say again anything, any penny. It's fair. That's the business. But, and in Israel, there's a lot. And because lack of capital on one end, and the other end, a lot of human capital, smart guys, this is the way I would put looking. There are some funds in Israel who are focusing on drug. My fund, we are not focusing on drug, but there are some others, like Pontifex and others, and they are doing very well because of this. And the big guys are not going to deal with, most of the cases, they are not, like Mark and others, are not going to invest in orphan disease. They prefer that startup will do that, and then they will buy it for their point of view cheaper than if they would buy it by themselves. The other stuff that you can see if, by the way, when I'm analyzing my policy, where I'm going to invest, I'm looking for futuristic paper that coming from several universities around the globe. There are some American researchers who are publishing every year, at least once, their projection. I usually look at that in order to see where technology is going. For instance, with my fund was the only one who invested in Mobileye. Mobileye is I don't know if people are familiar with the company. Basically, it's a company that started with the idea of avoiding car accidents. They have few cameras and analyzing, and they can even take control of the car, but the futuristic idea was on autonomous cars. And today they are, I think, #1 suppliers around the globe for equipment. I think that everyone who will buy the luxury car for sure, but even mid-sized management car is equipped with Mobileye technology. So as a result of that, there is a lot of startups and other companies dealing around vehicle. Because there's a projection that in 10 years, there will be millions of electric cars. And that will create huge trouble to those who create electricity. They will have to address it. It's a very complicated issue. Very complicated issue. In Israel, we already are thinking about solution. Why it's complicated? When people started to think, I think there was a company that went bankrupt in Israel, Better Place, dealing with electric car, and they're only focusing about the electric engines, blah, 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 in the car. They forgot about all the rest, and they put a lot of charging plugs around the cities and business plans. It turned out disaster, because there was not enough electricity power to supply millions of cars in Mexico City dealing with only electricity. How you manage it? So you don't want to buy and to build now dozens of electricity stations just for the cars. So how to analyze it? So there are Israeli companies today, startups, who said, this man, we know, we follow him on Facebook or other things, is going to work at 8 with his car, and then 4 o'clock he's driving home, and that's it. So when his car will plug into the charging, he will not get priority. The priority will get to this guy who jumping from one place to another and travel a lot, and you have to give him, so they recognize him and they sell him in the different rates and so on. So anyhow, it's a complicated issue, and it's coming. The electric car are coming. I don't know how much is the hybrid car today in Israel, catching up, I think today, 20% is a hybrid car. Hybrid. But in the future, like according to the researchers, it will be electric cars. So there's a lot of issue around electric cars. And in country with population like Mexico, it will come. Maybe this is a place to some of you, or car is interesting to you, to look on all those ecosystems that we have in Israel today, dealing with electric car. It should be more safe car. There's a lot of safety issues, and it should be also with how to have enough energy anytime you want. Another example, Israel today is under, for the last, I would say, something like 10 years, focusing a lot about improving transportation, public transportation. We're a small country, but even though, so because we were small, if you have a private car, you can manage. From one side of Israel to the other side, it will take you 4 hours drive. That's it. So that's a big deal. So for years there was not, the government didn't invest in train, or light train in the big cities and so on. It's changed. We are changing because we found out that because of lack of transportation, public transportation, the gap in society become between the periphery and the center become huge. And this is a threat to our society. And it's, by the way, gap in social, economic, social status is a threat to any society. And so in order to close this gap I mentioned before, with education, accessibility of education. The second one is transportation. So you can live in the periphery, work in the center with 40 minutes on a fast train. So, and also in the cities, now in Tel Aviv city, I was the chairman, of course on a voluntary basis, of the company dealing with the light train and underground train and metro in Tel Aviv metropolitan. There will be zillions of billions of dollars we're going to invest in the coming years. There will be many international tenders. Everyone who is interested in this kind of stuff, Israel is a good place to go. And in those tenders, there are the technical issue, how to dig the tunnels, how to do this. There is the operation opportunities, and there are the financial opportunities. Because it's until now we have done all the development we have done without the government budget, but for the future, the intention of the government is to do it different way. PPP, as people know, if it goes on, meaning you build a line, you operate the line for 30 years and make your profit, but you also spend the money to build it. We make a lot of improvement on this model in order to reduce the risk of foreign investors who want to participate in that. So we are, the government, taking the risk, the legal risk, if there will be some, in the soil there will be some problems, or other stuff, the government reduce the risk for those investors. So and I think it's those companies or those people who are interested in infrastructure, I think Israel is a good place to go for the coming 20 years at least. Because the plan today, talking about 20 years, and it's all, the planning is already in place, and you will get full plan, you get approval, man, that's the company that I used to be the chairman of it about until a month ago. We're already in the process. So it's again, I think it's a good place to go. Like miracle, Israel, since it's 48, the year that it was founded, we didn't have any resources beside the human brain. God help us. And a couple of years ago, we found huge amount of gas in the Mediterranean Sea, and we are now in the process to develop it. It's for the local market to use natural gas. We already starting, and you can see, and basically the idea is to get cheap energy, but also to export mainly to Europe, but because Europe today is based on the supply from Russia, and Russia blackmailed Europe in a way, so it's almost a monopoly, and there is an opportunity, and as in Mexico there is experience in this arena of exploring oil and gas in the ocean. I think this is a good place to go and to look for partners, and in Israel we don't have expertise on that, so of course the American big companies and others are already taking part here, but there is a lot of room for others, and I think that maybe in Mexico there's people who might be involved in that. Again, as I said, it will be guaranteed by the government. It will be, and the government has the resources that it collected slowly by reducing its debt along the years. The foreign currency reserve of Israel, I think, is maybe Swiss. Maybe Switzerland is better than us, in comparison to the size of population and us. So it's a stable place to go, because in the gas oil, it's a huge investment. It's talking of billions. Regarding agriculture, I heard from many that many or some, what to call you? Many is okay? So I'm using the Israeli way, I don't know.
Many is money.
I didn't mean that. That the government wants to make to develop a million acre for agriculture in order to catch up people from immigrating to the US to build here a good future. Israel is a good place to be. The state of Israel, when, let's say, 100 years ago, half of it was desert, and the second half of it was swamps, and the rest was bullshit, nothing there. Today, you travel over Israel, the desert is green, or a big portion of the desert is green, and the swamp, of course, have been dried. So, for Israel was, how it happens? Israel was a thirsty country. Water, we depend on the water from the rainy season. And if you have 4 years of drought, it was disaster. Today we don't have, water is not an issue. We are, when you can, drinking water from the tap, of course, something like, could be reach 60% or between 40 to 60%, depending on the period of the year. It's desalinated water. You will not feel it. For agriculture, we are not using fresh water, we are using recycling water. All agriculture. And we are now also building now a system to catch up floods. Some typical phenomena for desert countries or area, there are floods. When there is a rain, once in a while there is a flood. Now we are how to use the flood. Of course, when you're dealing with recycling water and so on, there is a lot of technology involved. And also, all the water in Israel are controlled from one place. So we have how to deal with this resource, how to split authority to local municipalities, how to control the price, of course, and so on. And this is, and filtering the water, and so on and so on. So there's a lot of technology regarding or related to water management, water purification, desalination, using recycling water. It's huge. So this is the water side of the agriculture side, or even more than that. Second thing, there is something that was developed years ago. It's called precise agriculture, meaning smart agriculture. I give an example. There is a startup in Israel, and there are few, not only one, but one. I know them. I didn't invest in that yet, but I'm considering it. It developed a road of 1.5 meters. You put it in the ground, and for each 10 acre, you use something like 3 of those, 3 or 4. I think the cost of it is about $1,000, maybe $50,000. And it makes a lot of measurements. Saltness of the ground, how much water in the ground, the weather condition, and transmit either to mobile system if the area is connected, or there is a coverage of the mobile, or satellites. And the company, this Israeli company, is collected this data, and the farmers who buy subscription agreement will have a mobile, you will get a notice. This portion of your few acres, put more water. Too much water. Put more chemical, less chemical. Don't do any shut the water, because a storm is coming in and there will be rain. There will be rainy season. Give you a lot of information. And so this kind of things, or there is another company dealing photograph. If you have a field of wheat or whatever, or even oranges planting or mango, or they make photographing either by satellites or by unmanned vehicles, in this camera, this photo, with multiple wavelengths, and they analyze in which area you have disease, which area doesn't get enough water, which area is getting too much water, and so on. And again, you get it to your mobile. So the farmer in his house, he found that there is some problems in the arena for disease. He takes tractor, going to this arena, and he gets with Waze or with other, or Google Map, to the place, spray it, go home. So, and this kind of people who are disinterested in this, in Israel, there's a lot of opportunities in this arena. There are much more than that. There are, for instance, another company who developing flies or bees who are helping him to get a better yield or to knock out diseases or other. So I would go with those people who are interested in that. He will have a lot of startup regarding this, and also he will get support from the government research institute, Volcanic. Its name is Volcanic. You will pay some royalties for because using of this technology, and if you do it with an Israeli company, you even don't pay these royalties. And this is we are doing this is the state of Israel contribution to the world, because we do believe that in coming decades there will be a shortage of food because of many reasons, and the precise technology will enable dry area and other area to get or to create a better yield or at yield at all of agriculture. So again, this is another example. I'm running out of time, right? Okay. The barrier for the industry in Israel is manpower, human capital. So one of the solutions I found is to absorb immigrants, academic immigrants, and find them the right job to do. And the man who is running this these days is Juan Taibet, born in Mexico years ago. I don't want to say your age, you will judge by yourself. Immigrated to Israel some years ago, is now running this organization.
Les quiero hablar de lo que es una ONG que yo dirijo, tengo la fortuna, que se llama Gvahim, que, como se mencionó anteriormente, Israel hasta hace muy poco solamente dependía de su capital humano. En realidad, durante todo el transcurso milenario del pueblo judío hemos estado solamente dependiendo de lo que es el capital humano. Y hoy en día lo que nosotros hacemos es justamente conectar este capital humano dentro del mercado laboral en Israel en varias áreas. Israel es un país de inmigrantes, como ustedes saben, en donde pues gran parte de su formación de Israel desde 1948 depende de lo que llamamos en hebreo la alía, que es la inmigración que ha habido y olas de inmigrantes que han llegado a Israel, que son los que han permitido que este país tan pequeño de 20.000 kilómetros cuadrados pueda desarrollarse de forma muy, muy exitosa. Entonces, lo que hacemos nosotros en Gvahim es poder dar lo que llamamos un soft landing a todos estos nuevos inmigrantes que por lo menos tienen un título académico y que quieren integrarse dentro de la sociedad y la economía en el país. Entonces, Yair Shamir es nuestro presidente y es la persona que formó y fundó esta organización en el 2006, cuando se dio cuenta que estos inmigrantes presentan y se enfrentan hacia tres retos principales. Primero, que no saben hebreo, no conocen el idioma. El hebreo es un idioma muy matemático, pero para quien no lo conoce es un poco difícil de aprender. Lo segundo es que no conocen la cultura local, no conocen la cultura israelí. Sí, para los que han estado en Israel es muy straightforward y choca a veces con otro tipo de culturas. Pero lo más importante de todo es que no tienen un network. Estos nuevos inmigrantes, que son extraordinarios, no tienen una red que pueda absorberlos dentro del mercado laboral y estamos desperdiciando un gran capital humano. Entonces, lo que nosotros hacemos es finalmente generar distintos proyectos y distintos programas en donde podamos integrar a estos nuevos jóvenes que llegan a Israel, inmigrantes, a distintos proyectos. No voy a ahondar demasiado en este tipo de proyectos, pero sí quiero darles como un pantallazo de lo que hacen este tipo de inmigrantes. nuestros programas, por un lado tenemos gente que quiere insertarse en el mercado laboral como asalariados. Entonces tenemos varios programas que ahora voy a mencionar, pero tenemos programas también de emprendimiento e innovación, tanto para generar pymes como para generar startups en Israel, con aceleradoras de negocios que quizás puedan llegar a interesarles. En primer lugar, gracias. Es solamente para darles un ejemplo, digamos, un vistazo de lo que hacemos. Trabajamos con gente de más de 60 países y cada semana yo abro un nuevo curso con gente que viene desde Azerbaiyán hasta Zimbabue, es decir, de la A a la Z, y no nos importa realmente de dónde vengan. Más de 60 países trabajamos, todos nuestros cursos y nuestras capacitaciones son en inglés. Tenemos más de 3.000 egresados nosotros, pero si sumamos a las familias y a los mentores que nos ayudan, tenemos una población de más de 10.000 personas que están dentro de la comunidad de Gvahim. Tenemos 700 mentores, que es gente como ustedes que están en la industria, que nos ayudan finalmente a colocar a estas personas de forma voluntaria. Generamos todo el tiempo nuevas fuentes de trabajo. Eso es solamente parte de las empresas que trabajan con nosotros. Trabajamos básicamente en el sector privado y mucho en el sector de alta tecnología, pero no solamente. Siguiente. El programa programa Carrera, que es nuestro flagship, el programa bandera de nuestro programa, lo que hace es lo siguiente: llega un nuevo inmigrante, una vez que sabe un poco de hebreo y tiene una base suficiente de inglés, viene un mes con nosotros, en donde una vez a la semana lo capacitamos para que entienda que tiene que reempacarse dentro de lo que es el mercado laboral israelí. Desde cómo tienes que escribir tu currículum en Israel, simulaciones de trabajo, cómo usar LinkedIn, que es sumamente importante en Israel, y 4 horas de recursos humanos, una persona que viene de recursos humanos que te va a hacer de forma muy tajante, te va a explicar exactamente cómo tienes que presentarte hacia entrevistas de trabajo, etcétera, etcétera. Después de que pasa este suceso y estas personas reciben este curso durante un mes, hacemos 2 cosas. Lo primero es que lo conectamos a mentores, como mencioné anteriormente, que va a encontrarse con esta persona y lo va a conectar al mundo con las redes que esta persona tiene. Y segundo, lo que va a hacer es que tenemos una oficina de colocación laboral en donde trabajamos con más de 800 empresas en Israel y nos llegan todo el tiempo solicitudes de gente altamente cualificada. Entonces hacemos este tipo de conexión. Todo este proceso tiene un costo de $2,000 para nosotros. Pero $2,000 es sumamente muy poco comparado con el retorno de inversión que esta persona va a otorgar a la economía israelí. Porque finalmente lo que yo voy a hacer es que esta persona yo le digo que es un diamante no pulido, lo pulimos, entra dentro de la economía y tenemos un retorno de inversión de 1.500%. Y lo que es más importante, y por eso nos llaman mucho, nuestra tasa de éxito es del 91%. Es decir, que una persona que entra dentro de nuestro proceso, cuando termina el proceso, hay 9 de cada 10 van a encontrar un trabajo apto a sus cualidades. Entonces, esto pues finalmente ayuda a la economía, ayuda a la sociedad y finalmente pues desde el punto de vista del inmigrante, desde el punto de vista del empleador, hacemos esta conexión. Siguiente. Nuestros participantes tienen 32 años de edad, tenemos gente, como les dije, de todo el mundo, en todas las áreas. No quiero hablar demasiado de esto, pero les quiero hablar de 2 programas que creo que pueden ser muy interesantes. Como se mencionó antes, y es algo que ya conocen todos ustedes, Israel es el Startup Nation, y para eso nosotros creamos la 4ª aceleradora de startups en la historia de Israel. Lo hicimos ya hace 10 años, y lo que hacemos es que tomamos después de pasar un proceso de screening, tomamos a 10 startups que nos parecen que pueden ser muy interesantes, formadas por un lado un nuevo inmigrante y por otro lado un israelí, vemos en qué áreas es donde el Estado y las necesidades que hay en el mundo y los metemos en una capacitación de 5 meses sumamente intensa. Les damos soft skills, les damos hard skills, les damos todo el network, los llevamos con angel capitals, con venture capitals, y todo este proceso que hacemos con ellos lo terminamos en un día que le llamamos el Demo Day, en donde traemos inversores que quieran invertir en estas startups, y todas nuestras startups no todas, pero gran parte de ellas han sido exitosas. Para que tengan una idea, el promedio de startups que sigue viva en Israel después de 2 años de vida es del 10%. En nuestro caso, el 40%. Es decir, que es sumamente alto. Estas startups han recaudado más de 20 millones de dólares desde que comenzamos. Y hace 4 años nos pidió el ayuntamiento de Ashdod, al sur de Tel Aviv, también que abramos una sucursal, porque somos muy buenos en esta parte. Y el ayuntamiento de Ashdod está metido muy en el tema de Smart Mobility, y entonces es un beta site para todo el tema de Smart Mobility, y estamos también haciendo startups con esta aceleradora, una sucursal también en la ciudad de Ashdod. Siguiente. Lo que además tenemos de aceleradoras de startups es también una incubadora de pymes, que durante 10 semanas traemos nuevos inmigrantes en donde nos dicen: yo quiero abrir una pequeña empresa en el área que yo quiera. Junto con Wix, que es una plataforma para generar páginas de internet, hacemos un programa de 10 semanas y los mandamos, y son sumamente exitosos en temas también de negocios. No voy a hablar de esto. Tenemos un programa para atracción de médicos también, siguiente, y tenemos un programa que es el último que quiero hablar con ustedes, que es para la atracción de ingenieros en sistemas. Israel, como ustedes saben, es el Startup Nation. Tenemos una necesidad de más de 10,000 ingenieros en sistemas en Israel en los próximos 5 años, y es por esta razón que nosotros atraemos y conectamos a ingenieros en sistemas en Israel. Todo esto para complementar lo que es el Startup Nation. Y ya solamente para terminar, siguiente. Siguiente. Esta es parte de nuestros números. Lo que quisiera que se lleven es que Gvahim es esta ONG que puede servir también de puente, de conexión de talentos entre México e Israel. Nosotros venimos, Yair y yo, en un viaje en donde queríamos hablar obviamente de las nuevas oportunidades de negocio que hay en Israel, y también en un viaje de procuración de fondos justamente para este ONG, en donde lo que queremos es buscar socios que estén interesados en lo que le llamamos es dar la caña y no el pescado a las personas. Entonces, eso es lo que hacemos. Muchísimas gracias por su tiempo.